name is Misha, currently a PhD scholar at the University of Calgary. I did my bachelor's in chemical engineering at the Federal University of Technology, Mina. Afterwards, I went to Germany for my postgraduate studies, my master's in process and energy engineering. And afterwards, I moved now to Canada, where I am currently I'm a research assistant and also a PhD student. So throughout my journey from undergrad till now, there've been one or two scholarships. Like in the undergrad, I was a beneficiary of the MTN Foundation Scholarship and Total Scholarship, and the postgraduate PTDF and the ADI Scholarship in Germany. And now I'm currently enjoying the Wegner Grouper Scholarship and also the Canada First Research Excellence Fund for my PhD studies. So through this, there's been a journey that I want to take you through. And it's going to be quite generic, as I said. That's because of our different field. But I will try to also share my experience in the course of this interaction. So what I want to do today is just to give us step-by-step strategies to secure scholarships to study abroad. I believe most of our audience, I see that there are people from other parts of the world too, but I would say 80 to 90% of our audience are from Nigeria. And I know how difficult it is when you mention the word scholarships. The first thing you begin to consider is, how do I begin? What's the first step? How do I go about this? But then it's something that is not super difficult, but then I wouldn't say it's easy. I wouldn't say it's difficult, but then depending on where you stand at the moment and how you are willing to push. So I just want to give 10 practical steps. I will try as much as possible to be practical with what I'm bringing, as I also share from my personal experience. Whenever I have seminars like this, I don't begin with, okay, get this document, get that document. No, and that's because everything is dependent on the right attitude. And this is very, very important. Whatever information that you would have, whatever thing you would get for as regards scholarship and applications, if you don't have the right attitude, I tell you the truth, it will be like trying to get water from a basket. You wouldn't make any progress. And so your right attitude, I would say, contributes to even 50% of the whole preparation for scholarship. I have some tips that I would like to share with you. And first tip would be, under this section, is to be intentional about this journey. This is a journey in itself. And I know there's so much excitement when it comes to the benefits of scholarship. You know, you leave Nigeria or leave your country or get to a place that has better opportunity for you to grow. But then it's a journey. And I tell people that the idea is that the journey will make you become the person that would look like what you are anticipating. The journey would, of course, take time, would take effort. It will shape you into that scholar, because a lot of times people think scholarship is just a state. It's more of a process. And having this right attitude is very, very important. And as I said, you have to be intentional about the journey. It's not something that you having it like one side hustle or stuff like that. No, it's something that you need to give your full attention to. I started processing postgraduate scholarship then in Nigeria during my NYSC, and part of the intentionality was that I had to do, I always share this, and the idea is to be able to spoil you and to make you see that it wasn't like there was one money that was set for me to, no, it was something that I made up my mind I was going to be intentional, because when you become intentional, every action afterwards would be sponsored by your intentionality. So as it is a journey, I knew that it's not going to be easy. And so I just made up my mind that whatever little funds I get, I'm going to push it to getting every information I need to get concerning scholarship application. So it takes time, it takes effort. It's something that would definitely, as I said, take time. And I would recommend that you spend, depending on individuals though, and the state you are in. And as I said, I'm sharing from my experience, like 2 to 3 hours daily of your time to be able to explore what are the opportunities out there. Of course, in the course of this seminar, I'm going to share some of the things you need to know. But this whole thing is just to prepare your mind, as I said, having the right attitude. It's not something that you say, okay, I will just spend half an hour in a week to be able to do. No, you will not make much progress with this. So it's something that you have to dedicate daily hours of your time. And then you have to make good use of your internet. I know there are a lot of people that, complain about data, and I've met people like that who will tell me I don't have data and all that, but it's about your attitude. If you look at 80% of what a lot of people use for using in the internet is all this TikTok, Facebook, and all those sort of things. They are not bad in themselves, but your attitude would reflect how much you're able to give to investment when it comes to internet and how you're able to use it. All these are kind of practical tips to help you, because some of you may say, I'm motivated, I want to do scholarship, I have the right mindset and all that. And then when I share all these tips, it's just a way to check, are you really intentional about this journey? Are you willing to give in the time and the effort? Would you be willing to dedicate this daily hours as recommended? And how are you going to use your internet? This is very, very important. So having the right attitude will go a long way. And as I said, at the end of the whole process, it's not just about getting a degree or getting a scholarship. It's who you have become at the end of it. And that's very, very important. So having the right attitude is always the first step I always share with people, because it will go a long way to form the foundation you need to be able to process every other information when it comes to scholarship application. And lastly, in this section is just be inquisitive. That's the thing about this. You don't have to keep things to yourself. You have questions you need to ask. How is this done? You have to get the details. And of course, part of the details is what I will share with you. All right, so that's the first point, having the right attitude. And then we go to practical steps. A lot of times people saying, I don't even know what to study to go about it. But then you're excited about scholarships. I will always say the first thing to do when it comes to this, because it's not just about scholarship, it's also about getting admissions and all that. And I try to, as I said, be practical about how to go about these things. Sometimes it may look obvious, like, okay, you just go to browse, but then I realized that it's not so obvious. A lot of people ask me certain questions that you could easily just ask in Google. And I tell people, just go ahead and search. So you have a field specifically you want to be able to do your postgraduate, either your master's or your PhD. Just begin researching on Google. And I give like practical examples, like research interest in bioinformatics. You just type this on Google and then you have a lot of results coming in there. Another way to decide your preferred program is just to check journal articles on Google Scholar or other platforms that you know. And then you just understand what is the latest trend of research in your chosen field. So after you search, okay, research interest in bioinformatics, of course, that will bring broader results. And then you begin to look at latest trends. It's important to understand the gap and understand the trajectory of things. Let me start with the trajectory. You have to understand how things have evolved in your field of interest. And then the gap is now what's the things that are open for research, because no one will just take you because you've done your bachelor's in Nigeria and you have a first class. No one will take you because of that. People will take you because of your ability to identify areas that require research and how your skill sets can be able to fit into that. And you may not even have the skill set. So deciding on your preferred program, understanding the trend of things and the gap that you can identify in your field will go a long way. But then understanding the gap would help you to know what seminar I need to take, what workshop I need to take to build myself, to get myself to this level. YouTube has almost everything you need to learn from scratch. Like, you don't practically need to buy textbooks for you to learn certain skills, especially maybe programming skills or just any skill that you require. There are a lot of seminars out there. So understanding this latest trend in your chosen field will go a long way to channel and help you. I'll speak about personal statement, but then I just needed to put this foundation step by step. So you see all these tips now, first of all, I'm sharing. It has nothing to do with money. A lot of times when it comes to scholarship, I wish I had a slide to talk about some misconceptions about scholarship. People are like, you need to have a lot of money and all. No. 80% of the things you need for scholarship application is not even money. Money will come, definitely. That doesn't mean you won't require money. It will definitely, this whole process will be quite financially burdensome, but then you realize that 80% of all you need for your preparation is not money. So you need to check articles and all that. And then for your undergrad, some people want to do like masters and you're looking for preferred program. If your undergraduate project still interests you, then maybe you already have a research interest. So most times your undergraduate project would now be like a doorway to getting to understanding or to deciding your preferred program. So these are just practical tips to deciding your preferred programs. Just Google it quickly. Use words like this that I've given. Check journals and articles on Google Research, Scholars, and or just check on the internet some of the latest trends. As I said, Google it. You could Google and say latest trend of research in your field, put it, and then information will come up. And if your undergraduate project still interests you, maybe you already have a research. So this is the second point I want to share. And so let's move to the third point, which is start early and research thoroughly. So as I said, this whole process, if you are hoping, I would say the earliest time, if you're just starting the process now to anticipate getting a scholarship, I'm not being pessimistic about this. If you're starting now, then you are looking at fall. Let's say earliest time will be September next year. And that's because there are a lot of things that need to be put in place, which I will still speak about, like some of the documentations that you need to get. But it is important to start early and research thoroughly. And some of the tips I want to share here is this. You need to find universities offering scholarships available for your desired programs. So you need to see universities that, and when I mean universities, I do not just mean, okay, I know some of you want to target a particular continent, maybe US or the Europe, but then I always advise when it comes to this, just find universities across the world that offer this desired program that you are thinking to apply. So after you've decided already in the previous step, as I said, decide on the preferred program, you need to now find the universities. And when you see universities, what I try to do is I try to check not just the course name, because some of the names may not even be exactly what we have maybe in Nigeria, some courses, the way the title is. But then you go to the content and then it meets what your expectation is concerning the course. So you don't just look at the heading, you also try to look at what are the curriculums, what's the syllabus like for this particular course in the university. And then you try to gauge it side by side with what you have as expectations or what you've observed. Because it's very important. It's not just so, okay, let me just get in university and go. No, whatever you are going to put in terms of university, your interest, there must be an alignment, and that's very, very important. And as I said, just go ahead and Google. How do you find these universities? Just Google universities in Canada offering masters or PhD in chemical engineering, and you'll see all sorts of results coming to you. Sorry, I just decided to be this practical because people will stay ask question, how do I find universities in this? How do I do this? And they think you have this base of this compendium of database, all these things I'm bringing them. It looked very simple, but then it's important to state it. A lot of things that you need to get solutions to are not far off. Just Google them. Then you see results. Then you go over each ones that have been brought to you. And then when it comes to popular scholarships, there are a lot of them that are open in many fields. For example, I just brought this broad ones, but there are a whole lot of scholarships. And Erasmus Mundus scholarship is basically a European-based scholarship. It's normally put across two countries, maybe between France and Germany, and you just find that blend, and then you're able to have that exposure between two different cultures. And it's a scholarship that is open for a lot of fields of studies, not just for engineering, but other fields. Chevening Scholarship, it's a typical scholarship in the UK. MasterCard Foundation Scholarship is one that is open across different parts of the world. So MasterCard is in Europe, it's in UK, it's in Canada, it's in the US. So depending on institutions, you are able to apply this. So this is a whole step on its own, but then there are a whole lot of scholarships. So you need to open your mind to all the possibilities. But then, as I said, don't worry so much about this for now. There are things you need to get prepared, and then you can now be able to apply for all these scholarships. So start early and research thoroughly. Very, very important. The next step will be now to craft out an outstanding personal statement, or some institutions would put it as motivation letter. Personal statement and motivation letter is mostly this document that helps to convey your uniqueness, your person, your journey. It conveys your ideas. When I mean ideas, ideas for research, what you want to do, and how your journey so far has shaped you to be the person that you are at the moment. I find a lot of people trying to be something else when it comes to writing personal statement. Like they just say, please send me your personal statement, and then 80% of what is there is what you copied. I find people that I've shared my personal statement with, all they changed is maybe their names or degree and everything. They use the same words and all that. And I'm like, no, that's not how you write personal statement. It's not an assignment that you copy. It's about you. It's about your journey. It's about your uniqueness, and that's very, very important. Personal statement is where you're able to demonstrate your genuine interest and enthusiasm, and this is very important. A lot of times people may not have first class, you may not have 2-1, but what will make a researcher or a professor to be interested in you will be largely this document, your personal statement. It carries so much weight that it, as I said, if you have a 2-2 or you even have third class, you have a third class, but then you are able to not just craft word, but able to document your journey in such a way that there is a demonstration of interest, growth, enthusiasm, and even your understanding of the field. I tell you the truth, you may be able to obtain a scholarship and an admission. So this is very, very important. And as I said, personal statement or motivation letter doesn't require money for you to write it. It just requires you to focus and to sit down and document. This is where you also give clear reasons why you are applying to this specific program and also indicate your goal. This has to do with crafting an outstanding personal statement or motivation letter. Let me add this briefly. A lot of times there are some schools that may ask you for personal statement and then statement of purpose. And let me clarify that sometimes some schools in Europe will just say personal statement or motivation letter. And in these, you capture, as I said, your uniqueness, and you also capture your reasons for applying to the specific program. But then when you have some applications where they distinguish personal statement from statement of purpose, your personal statement would focus more on you, would focus more on your personality and how your studies have shaped you to become the person that you are. That's what your personal statement would capture. It will be a bit more on you, your uniqueness, and how ready you are for the journey. But when it comes to statement of purpose, it would deal with the research itself, how you're able to identify the gap in the research, how relevant is this gap, how impactful will it be when you're able to fill up this gap? What's the contribution of this area of research to be your immediate community or science and technology to broader space? So the statement of purpose would be focused on the research itself you want to dive in, and that may be different from your research proposal, of course. It's just a short statement that kind of combines you a bit and the research, and personal statement will be just an information about your background and how your journey has shaped you to become the person that you are. Let's go to the fourth point now, which is to check the admission and scholarship requirements. There are requirements when it comes to admissions and scholarships, and it's important for you to be able to clearly know all this. For example, some schools in Canada will require a minimum of 3.0 over 4.0. That's because that they have the scale of 4. So there's a way you can be able to convert this. If you're coming from Nigeria, which is 5, scale of 5.0, there's a way you can be able to calculate this in the scale of 4 and see if you meet up. But then you have schools in UK that accept second class lower grade, and many schools in US accept HND grades. So please do not feel intimidated, even if you may not exactly, let's say for Canada now, it says 3.0 over 4.0, and you look at every other thing you're qualified, except that maybe when you did the calculations for your grade, you had, let's say 2.8 or 2.9, I would say advise just go ahead and apply. Do not get discouraged about the minimum CGPA thing. Just package your applications and do that. And let it be that they say no to you than for you not to apply. But I would say just read their requirements and it will help you to craft out a very good application. As I said, CGPA is one requirement out of many others. So ensure that you have other strong documents. And some schools also have CV and personal statement templates that you should follow. And this comes to a point where you don't just send your CV generically to every institution. So there's a way like European standard, like if you're applying to schools in Europe, they have a format for you to put your CV. And it's important for you to follow that format. I think one of it is Europass. That's one example of the way you put in your template. And they may have a template for personal statement or what they expect to see in the personal statement. So please ensure that you're able to follow this template. The details are very important. And this will help you to distinguish one application from another. Just understand what they require for this. Also, some admissions and scholarship may require you to write English proficiency exams like TOEFL in the US and Canada, or IELTS for schools in Europe and everywhere in the world. So you should be able to look at what the requirements are. Some would require GRE, but then a lot of schools are waiving that, especially if you're coming from Nigeria. I observed that lots of schools in the US and Canada are waiving this GRE. So you don't have to just look at, and sometimes even if they put it like we need GRE and all that, you need to write, and that's where that inquisitiveness comes into place. There are certain schools that even though they put in this requirement, they may just say, you just need to write to them and say, can I provide an English proficiency letter? So that can also stand, because all they want to, the goal for all this English proficiency thing is just for them to attest that you can be able to undertake your postgraduate studies in English fluently without any problem. A letter of proficiency from your institution, either from your bachelor's or from your master's, if you're going for PhD, would be sufficient. So you just need to ask. And even this GRE, they can waive it. There are a lot of schools that are waiving it. So don't just sit down and say, oh no, they said this, and I don't have this. Let it be that you've written to them and they are firm about it, and for you to assume that they are firm, yet they are flexible about this. So this is very, very important. So please check the admission and scholarship requirements. So I think this is the fourth step. As I said, we have 10 steps and we are going, this is midway into the whole journey. Next, the fifth one is to seek recommendations from trusted mentors. This is very, very important. For every application you're making for both scholarship and admission, it is important to seek recommendations from trusted mentors. These people that you want them to be your referees or to write your reference letters, they should be people who you have worked with for a period of time. You don't just go and pick up anybody to write recommendation from you, because it is important for them to state certain experience that they've had with you and how you're able to demonstrate strength, resilience, academic excellence, and all that. Part of it would be your project supervisor, maybe for your undergraduate or your postgraduate. It's important to get something. Now, I know that not everyone may have had very good relationship with your project supervisor, but this is just an example. A project supervisor can be able to be a good reference for you, and it could be your departmental head. It could be a lecturer that you've offered a course with. Maybe he has taught you like 3 or 4 courses, and over the period of time, you are comfortable to ask him to write you a personal reference letter. Please, it should just meet the requirement that it should be people that you've worked with for a period of time or they've supervised you for a period of time. And then they should be able to write something great about you based on what the admission or the scholarship is looking for. So you don't just go and look for someone that wouldn't just write something great. It makes no sense. Sometimes what I do is you would give them, because not these people, even though they know you, they've taught you and all that, they can't be able to remember every detail about you and information. So it's important for you to highlight certain things and give them a kind of bullet point they need. You could give like a draft of what you expect based on what the admission and the scholarship is looking for, just to help them to be able to write something great about you. Of course, you shouldn't lie, but then you should be able to state some things obviously and clearly and try to be as transparent as possible, yet you should be able to market yourself very well, identify skills that you think it's important that should be highlighted in the reference letter. They should be informed beforehand and kept posted over the period of your application. There are some people that will just use some people as reference, and you don't keep them posted. You don't inform them. Of course, there are some admissions that will require you to submit a reference letter. There are some that would tell you to submit referees, and then the school would contact them to provide reference letter. And someone will just be sitting and just sees an email from a school telling him that you have been selected as a referee to this person, and then they don't know, they don't have any information and all that. It's not nice at all. So please inform them beforehand and keep them posted over the period of your applications. Very, very important. We are proceeding to the sixth point, which is prepare other important documents. This is very important. And what are these important documents? And this is where the issue of money comes into place. You could see that from the first 5 points, all these things, you can get them without necessarily spending any dime. You can get the reference letter without having to do that. You can browse, you can do all those things. It's the same data that you browse in Twitter and TikTok that you need to use to search for schools. So there's nothing big in there. This is where it comes, preparing other important documents. Now you need to process your international passport. International passport, if you're in Nigeria, I think will cost around 25 or 30,000, I'm not sure. But then depending also on the number of pages you want, depending also on the number of years, if you have an opportunity to do for 10 years, please do it, because sometimes it's not easy renewing it. I've had experiences that are not so nice with renewing passport in abroad. So please get your international passport. And it's very important that you begin to process, because some of these processes may take a while to get. And when you begin to apply to schools, one way they kind of verify your ID, or part of the document you need to send as your ID would be your international passport. If you want to write some exams, they will require your international passport. So please, this should be one of the first documents you should process. You can also be processing this simultaneously. So one is not like hindering the other. Begin to process your academic transcript on time as well from your university. Begin to write to them. Please begin to make inquiries on how to get your academic transcript. You may begin with getting student copy and you're using it for your application. And when you get an admission, full admission, you can request for the main copy. That's because if you're applying abroad, I think it varies. So within Nigeria, there's a fee. Outside Nigeria, but within Africa, there is a field. Outside Africa, there is a fee. Let it be that the full transcript, sending it to the institution, like you're sure, okay, I'm coming to the school. If not, it may be quite expensive applying and getting transcript for all the different applications you're making. And then, as I said, English proficiency letter may be sufficient. And this is something that you can process side by side with your academic transcript. At least I know for a FUTB, you can request for this side by side with your academic transcript. But then if you want to improve your chances across the whole world, then you must be ready to take one of those proficiency exams, either TOEFL, IELTS, or PT. You should be able to prepare for that. As I said, sharing my own experience, then I was serving my NYC period. I had to, out of those allowance, which was like 19.8, I had to save out of it to write IELTS exams. It was then around 76,000, and I had to travel to Abuja from Kano to write the exams and return. So these are things that you have to begin to prepare right now when it comes to documentation, because they are very, very important. And then, as I said, you need to process your reference or recommendation letters. I always advise you should get 2 to 3 letters. 2 should be academic, 1 should be non-academic, maybe from work or from some other things that just kind of demonstrate maybe some skills that you have. But then get typically 2 to 3 recommendation letters. These are some of the documents you need to prepare, major documents that you need to prepare. We are progressing. You need to prepare your academic CV in accordance with the formats. So when it comes to academic CV, people will ask, what's the difference between CV and resume? Most times for resume, you just have maybe a page just giving a high level summary of who you are. And most times resume is required in job applications where they just want to browse quickly on your skills and all that. But when it comes to academic CVs, it's a bit more extensive. It has a component like your contact information, your research objectives or personal profile, your educational sector, your professional appointments, that if you have those, but if you don't have that, it's still fine. You can skip all those sites. Your research publications, your awards and honor, your grants and fellowship, your conference attendance, your teaching experience, research experience, additional activities, language skills, and references. So you see it's a bit more extensive, and it's important to prepare it in accordance to the format. Different regions that may have different formats. That's part of the component of an academic CV. The next step would be, please learn to network. This is very important because there are some people that are very, very smart, but yet you are just within yourself. Like you are just a person pushing, which is not bad. But then I think it's important to network. It opens you to pool of opportunities. And the first tip I would give when it comes to learning to network is, first of all, connect with people with similar quest like you. It's important also, apart from, I said, of course, you can connect with people like those present here too as well. But then a wider place would be professional networking platform like LinkedIn, where you have opportunities to follow experts in your desired field. And this is very, very important. Beyond just following experts in your desired field, platforms like LinkedIn gives you an opportunity to be able to also market yourself. So when it comes to your profile, don't just go there and all it is, you don't even have a profile picture. All you say is that I am in the heading, a BSc in economics. When they say describe yourself, you just write something. I have a BSc in economics, and then informations are missing. Your publications are missing. There are sections for you to put in all these informations. You don't put anything. You are just on LinkedIn, yes, but then you are not effective. If someone goes to your profile and you're seeking for admission, but there's nothing motivating that they will find in your profile. You don't share content. You don't comment on people's content. You don't do anything there. You just look. There's no way you'll be able to really network effectively if that's what you do on LinkedIn. And if you are not on LinkedIn, please ensure that you open the platform and get to market yourself well. Get a very good picture, put in there. Try to share whatever experience you've had or you are having. It's very important. It opens you up to different opportunities and possibilities. I tried to share with some people some time ago that one of the ways I got my PhD opportunity was through LinkedIn. Although I've written to plenty and a lot of professors, it was one publication I made then with some researchers from Canada. And when it was uploaded on LinkedIn, then one of who is my co-supervisor right now contacted me based on that publication and said they are looking for a student in this area. And that's how I got the opportunity. LinkedIn is very, very important. In fact, it may be more efficient than even writing emails to people, which is not bad. Writing emails to professors is very, very important. But then these platforms could even open more chance for you. And then one other way to network is for you to invest time, effort, money in attending seminars. So seminars like this is very important. Workshops, conferences that will increase your chances. So on LinkedIn too, another platform, you'll find advertisement, maybe on the this platform too, the group chat, the WhatsApp chat for academic and grant writing enclave. Please join the groups. There are a lot of opportunities that are being shared in these platforms. Very, very important opportunities, like across different fields. People share in science, in arts, in commercial, all the opportunities that you can get, and tips and trainings, and all this is very important. So I would really recommend you to connect, please join it. And then please ensure you invest energy in this. Very, very important. And then lastly on this learn to network is there are actually adverts that are being made for open positions on various platforms. Just to strengthen the point I made, what you need to do is to send what they call a cold email and your CV. You should attach it to the professor. So a cold email will be very brief, not something long. You don't need to write your whole background and information. No, no, no. All you need to state, this is my name and this is my qualification. I have an MSc or a BSc in this, and these are my skill sets, and I've read about your publications, especially make reference to some of their publications and not just making them blindly, but making some of the publications that are aligned to your interests. It says, and I see that I have so much interest in these, and I can be able to advance on this particular work that has been done in these. This is my information. Attached here is my CV. I look forward to hearing from you. Just something brief. I was chatting with my supervisor and other supervisors. They get at least 100 emails per day, sometimes from people across the world who have seen their profiles. And they don't have time to be going through that because they have other things to do. So you have to send in something that is short yet captivating, and let your CV be concise and let it be clear. That's what cold email entails. So please, you should be able to take advantage of that. And it's through networking that you'll be able to see all these adverts that are being placed around the world. Now, this is something very important, that when it comes to scholarship, when it comes to admissions, it is very important to do things beyond just your academics. So some people have good academic result, which is not bad. But then when it comes to scholarship, they don't just consider just your academics. They try to consider your leadership skills, and which is very important. So you must be able to demonstrate leadership and extracurricular activities and involvement. And you must seek opportunities to be able to take initiative. This is very, very important. Don't just sit. Ensure that you look around you. What ways can I be able to demonstrate leadership? Just to share a brief of my experience, I remember when I was done with my service here, the scholarship I applied that year, I didn't get. I was looking for fully funded scholarship actually. I got some partial scholarship, partly funded scholarship, but not fully funded. So it means that I have to wait a year again to reapply for scholarships. And during that period, I doubled my effort with applications, but then I took initiative. I knew that I could be able to do trainings for students, especially chemical engineering students, on computer-aided design softwares. So during that 1 year, I decided to register a little company where I was moving from schools to schools. I will apply, I will give submit proposals, and get to train students. So I did the training in FUT, I did the training in Unizik, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, I did in Kano, and few other universities like that around. And so when I was applying for scholarships, and I stated that when they asked, what are you doing at the moment since you are done with school like 2 years back? And I told them this is what I was doing. This was one of the things that really helped so much. You may not open a company, you may not do, but something that would be able to demonstrate leadership, taking initiative, is very, very important when it comes to scholarship, because they are looking for people who are balanced around all sides. One of the ways to demonstrate leadership or extracurricular involvement is to look for ways to volunteer. It's not everything that you have to be looking for. Will it pay me? Will it not pay me? No. You must be able to build up volunteering skills that demonstrate, your involvement with humanity and your skills, your tenacity, your ability to grow, your ability to impact people. These are things that the skills or this extracurriculum involvement would tell whoever is trying to recruit you or is trying to consider you for scholarship. So someone who has a first class and doesn't have leadership skills or extracurriculum involvement may be defeated or may be outperformed by someone who maybe has 2-1 or 2-2 but demonstrate great leadership skills. And this is side by side with personal statement. So in your personal statement, this is where you are able to also state some of these things. So this is why I'm saying, like, it's something that has to do with you. At the end, the whole scholarship acquisition or you getting a scholarship has to do with who you have become, who you've been all through this year. It's important for you to demonstrate, especially when they say work experience. Some people will always confuse work experience with job experience. And so I've not worked in an oil and gas company, so I do not have any work experience. No, you should be able to demonstrate things like this. Volunteering skills could go a long way as a work experience, because it's a work. They want to see how you've been shaping through all these activities. opportunity. And it's very important for you to state everything you've done. If you've been a secretary in a place, it looks like it's not recognized all over the world. It doesn't matter. It's a work experience. What have you learned from it? You need to write it down. And that's very, very important. You have to demonstrate these skills. This is not a time to undersell yourself. I was trying to undersell myself sometimes in this, but when I was applying, some of my mentors would say, state this thing, write this thing down. Your involvement with fellowships, NCCF, and all the rural rockets that we did and all that, it looked like, okay, we're doing spiritual activity, but then it has implication because it's also seen as humanitarian services being offered. So it's very, very important that you're able to state these skills because you're impacting the environment and you're able to demonstrate organization, coordination, leadership, and all these things that would be sought after when it comes to postgraduate studies. So this is very, very important. And again, just to add, part of these skills will be needed for you to journey through. If you're doing a master's or PhD, you may be given students to coordinate. Maybe you are PhD student and you have undergrads and master students that you would be given to coordinate or to guide in terms of the research. So all the skills will be needed because they don't just look at researchers and professors will not just look at your academic prowess, they also look at your leadership so that you can be able to help. Every professor may have a research group and they have all sorts of students from bachelor's to PhD, even to postdoc. So they will require you to guide and to provide leadership to all the students. So it's very important that you're able to get the skills if you don't have them. Go for trainings, demonstrate them, and look for opportunities to serve. So the last step in this would be, or the last point I would say is to apply. Now, as I said, I told you that the first year I started my applications, I didn't get any scholarship. It was quite discouraging, but then I still applied. And that's very important. You may make a lot of applications across the world. You may make up to 50 to 100 or 150 applications. Don't be discouraged. This is very, very important. You may put in effort in your first year and do all you think you can do just for you to get all sorts of rejections. Please don't be discouraged. And I speak from experience because I didn't just get it once I applied. I was disappointed too. Understand that it is normal to get a lot of rejections, just as I said. It's part of the process. That's what forms you. If I probably gotten the scholarship that first year, maybe the person that, I'm not absolute about that, but what I'm trying to say is that the growth that took place after the first year that I didn't get, and I had to wait 1 year to make some applications, and through that 1 year I went about training students, I was able to grow as a person. I was able to grow in even writing the skills, the research proposal I need to write, and I grew as a person. So everything is part of the process. Every rejection is part of the process. And also know this, I always state this, that only one acceptance is required to cancel many rejections. So you may have made lots of applications, 100, 150, and just one acceptance is required to cancel many of those rejections. So ensure that you keep working. Don't get discouraged. You just need one acceptance. That's all.